Welcome back to another opportunity to learn, grow, and evolve, continuing to embody and uncover that peace and that power that we have at the core of all of us. It's just a matter of working through the anxieties, the insecurities, the doubts, and the worries so that we can come into that place, come into and transcend into that place. And today we are talking exactly about that. About moving and processing through the anxieties instead of resisting it and staying outside of our core selves. And so I'm speaking to my younger self, which I used to do this frequently, and I'm speaking to myself now, which I find myself doing once in a while too. And that is when we are triggered, and that trigger produces anxiety, whatever that trigger is. My old habit was to resist that anxiety, to put it in the passenger seat and continue going about my day as if it didn't happen. And the new habit that I have gotten used to and that I have practiced and made my reality today is that when I become triggered and that anxiety starts to bubble up, I immediately see it, I feel it, I process it, I realign with myself, and then I keep going so that it's not clouding my vision for the rest of the day and showing up in all the other things that I am going to be doing during that day, right? Because anxiety often can change our state. It can leave us in that place where we're not actually in our power. So the message here is simply when the triggers come up, being able to work with them instead of having that just do it mentality of powering through them. Being able to work through them, being able to soothe them, and then let go of them so that we feel lighter emotionally, we feel clearer in our mind, and we also feel more liberated, freer in our spirit so that we can walk about the day with a little bit more ease, a little bit more peace, and a lot more power. And as I mentioned in the past, one of my favorite lines here is feel to heal or resist to persist. And I want to go even a step further, and I want to say again, one of my other favorite lines is that triggers are showing us where we are not free. In other words, these triggers are holding us back from walking in our power, walking in our true selves. And so they are showing us where we're not free and showing us where the work is, because that's where we are being triggered. So if we can process that, it's no longer in our way forward. It's no longer something that is an energetic leech on our body, on our system. And we can move forward and liberate ourselves as a result so that we're in our core and not in the anxiety, the worries, the doubts, whatever those thought loops are. And what the triggers are pointing to, what the anxiety, aka symptom, is pointing to, is really old patterns that we're running, outdated habits that we're running, old thought loops, old beliefs. And so when we could really see these things, then we could work through them. And that's where anxiety becomes a blessing. That's where it's showing us where the triggers are and how we can really take a step forward in our evolution and really level up from a clarity perspective, a heart perspective, and a vibrational perspective. And the beautiful thing here is that there are so many ways to do this processing, to do this seeing and feeling and processing to move through and past these things. And it's also practice. So I want to set the expectation now is when we first start doing some of these practices that I'm about to mention, it's important to recognize that they will take some time. Brick by brick, we become clearer and better at them. Whereas it's not an overnight thing. Most times, I'm not going to throw that out, but it's not an overnight thing typically where it's just like we do it once and we're better, right? So when I mention some of these practices to you, keep in mind that they are practices for a reason because we're practicing and getting better. The first thing, and I mention this all the time for a very specific reason, is meditation. And I recognize meditation as one of the most powerful practices because it's one thing to be able to recognize the trigger. It's another thing to be able to recognize the trigger and not get caught in the trigger. And so meditation provides that space between us and the trigger so that we can really see it from an objective place, witness it, and then be able to move through it. So meditation really helps us, and there are many ways to do meditation. You can even practice with me every Sunday morning, and you can check out that link below. It's all donation-based, very easy. The second thing with that is also yoga, because yoga is another form of meditation where we get to, again, create that space between us and what we are experiencing. And that creates a great foundation for us to then do other work that I'm also about to mention, so that we can, again, not get caught in it and come to it from a place of being centered and being in our power. So the third practice here, and this is a practice that has helped me tremendously, is cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy works on being able to recognize the trigger when it comes up and being able to change our physiological state so that we can stay in a centered place and not lose ourselves in that trigger, and then being able to recognize that trigger and the old habit behind it and replace it with something that is much healthier for our mind, much healthier for our heart, and it is a positive habit, so it's going to bring us in the right direction instead of in the wrong direction, holding us back versus helping us move forward. Cognitive behavioral therapy, and this is a practice that I do in every single moment that I become triggered. We could do it in seconds, we could do it in minutes, we could do it with hours. It's up to you and how you want to apply it. In the beginning, when you're learning it, it takes some time, and it's a very powerful practice. And the good thing is there are so many ways to learn it. You can check out my YouTube videos on how I learned it as well, and just take that. It's also great to learn with another person. The fourth thing that I will mention here is being able to journal, because journaling is another way of being able to expose ourselves to these triggers that came up during our day. So I typically do this at night or in the evening whenever I feel really called to do it. I will journal about my triggers of the day, journal about my habits and the patterns that I feel are behind the triggers so that I could see them objectively, not get caught up in them, and then because I have that awareness, I can choose a different response next time that that trigger comes up, aka processing it, letting go of that old trigger, and moving forward from a place of liberation, from that place of peace and that place of power. Do not let this anxiety just hold down your energy after it happened for 30 seconds in the morning and then it just takes over the rest of your day. We have the power within us to be able to transform it when it happens and have power throughout the rest of our day without us being held down by it. If you found this valuable in any way, if you found this helpful in any way, please feel free to drop how it's worked for you if you've already done it. If you have questions around any of these practices or just thoughts around it, drop them in the comments down below so that we can have a conversation about it and we could collectively learn about it and see everybody else's perspectives on it, right? It's really helpful when we do that. And I will also mention, again, I hold meditations every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. New York Eastern Time so that we can practice this in a community setting and really evolve together. And it's an easy practice. It's all donation based. You can donate pennies. You can donate as much as you want. It's just so that we can really practice these things that bring us that liberation. Lastly, I offer coaching now, which I have been excited to bring to this platform for a very long time so that we can bring some of these practices together and make it in a personalized way so that you are connecting all the dots of these different practices and putting them in the way that works best for you. If you have any other questions, please feel free to drop them here, or you can also reach out to me privately on Instagram. Much love to you. I wish you the absolute best the next time a trigger comes up for you in that personal liberation that lies just beyond the threshold. I'll see you in the next video.